What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Matt Hates Everything. Today we're going to be taking a look at the controversial film, The Lords of Chaos. So let's run that intro and let's get right down into the review. Let's get right down to it. Lords of Chaos was released at Sundance last year, but did not get a theatrical release until this year, so we're going to call it a new release. Now, the film was directed by Jonas Åkerlund. For those of you who are super into music videos, I guess, Jonas Åkerlund has won several Grammys for music videos. He won one for a Madonna music video. He directed a really intense Metallica musical video for Turn the Page. And I believe he also did the music video for Prodigy's Smack My Bitch Up. Now, as far as the actors we have in this film, we have some somewhat famous, not quite famous guys. Rory Culkin plays Euronymous, and Emery Cohen in a standout performance as Varg Vikernes, Count Grishnak, Christian, whatever you want to call him. Now, before we get too far into this, I do want to say, yes, this is another example of one of my greatest pet peeves of all time for filmmaking in America. This is based on a book. Now, I read this book in probably 98, 99, somewhere around there. So, once again, I already know what happens. So what I'm going to do with this review is I'm going to review it as a film and not as a film based on a book, because they both have their pluses and minuses. And I also don't think a lot of people are going to be very familiar with the subject matter of it. And don't ask me why I am, because Lord knows I do not like black metal at all. But I wanted to watch the movie. It's something that I've wanted to see for probably about 20 years now. And I'm actually pretty glad that I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it. We're also going to try to keep this video as spoiler-free as we can. There'll be a section at the end with a note card that'll tell you when the actual review is over, so that I can discuss this to maybe the 1 or 2 people that are actually going to watch this that are fans of black metal and are familiar with what happened, because that's a completely different video. Lords of Chaos is based on a book. It's also based on truth, lies, and what actually happened, according to the tagline for the film. Lords of Chaos is a story of the black metal scene in Norway in the early 1990s. More specifically around a band named Mayhem and their guitarist Euronymous. Now, as the story weaves and winds its way in through all of his machinations, his record label, his record shop, the production of albums, the releasing of albums, another individual, Varg Vikernes, makes his way into his inner circle and into his inner group. And so what we have here with Euronymous, we have the talker. And then on the other side, we have Varg Vikernes, the doer. So what we end up with here is a film about a man who runs his mouth and comes up with all these ideas, and he surrounded himself with an impressionable group of young men who would jump off a building for this guy. We should burn a church. Church burnings. I wonder what it's like to stick a knife into another human being. That happens. This film treats its violence in such an insanely unflattering way, it's almost difficult to watch. There is no bombastic soundtrack behind these fights and behind these murders that you see in this film. When somebody gets stabbed, they get stabbed a lot due to the hate that these individuals have in their hearts. And it's more of a case of almost like in the house that Jack built, where murder is difficult. And this movie has no complaints at all about showing you how difficult that can be. there's all this extreme metal music, and there's even some beautiful stuff by Sigur Rós in this film too. Some of the more quieter moments in the film, but the violence is shocking. And from somebody like me, it's not shocking because of the gore level, but it's the brutality and the honesty of it. This is the second film in a row that I've reviewed where suicide is an important factor in this film. The suicide scene in this movie, and it's been less than 24 hours since I watched it, shows you how painful and how horrible suicide can be, and how horrible it is to the people around you. This is a very, very different, quiet kind of movie in the places where it should be loud, and where it should be quiet, that's when things get loud. You have this huge bombastic soundtrack by these demented and twisted bands that have come up with this stuff, and the most quiet murder scene you will ever see. It's worth it just to see the filmmaking skill that Jonas Åkerlund has shown us in this movie. Usually when we see these guys that make music videos and they come and they get a big budget and they get a big feature-length film, it ends up looking like a big giant music video. The cool thing about Jonas Åkerlund is a lot of his videos are very natural and realistic, and that really shows in the cinematography and the other things that are used in this film. To give it a quick review, soon the spoiler territory card will be coming up, so I'm going to finish this review up. This movie is definitely worth seeing. I don't know if it's worth running out and getting a DVD of it and checking it out, but it's definitely worth looking at. I waited 20 years to see this movie, so you shouldn't have to. If you can find it playing locally in a theater, definitely go check it out. I have a strange feeling this is going to be showing up on on-demand services any day now, because this is definitely not the kind of movie you expect to have a big box office run. We're going to do the review now in a scale of 1 to 5. I would give this film a solid 3. It's really worth watching. And guess what? I didn't hate it. So we're going to throw up that spoiler territory card so we can talk about the nerd stuff in it. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. If you want to hang out for another couple of minutes while I finish my stuff, you're more than welcome to. We're going that way. Okay, so now we're in the spoiler section of this video. So now I can talk to the two people that are probably still watching. Man, I'm sorry. If you're a black metal fan and you saw this movie, I'm sure you're insanely pissed off, because I only have a passing interest in this stuff, and they just kind of really nuked it with a lot of the characters and even some of the events from what I've been able to read and what I've been able to find out. Not even close to being accurate. It's kind of disgusting, because the book itself was almost like a National Enquirer book, and the movie is kind of sensationalist like that too. But the movie as a movie was actually pretty good. I did not like what they did with Varg's character. He always struck me as a much more charismatic and soft-spoken kind of guy. Like, he's the wolf in wolf's clothing is probably the best way I can put it. And Euronymous, to me, never struck me as like the Malcolm McLaren figure. You know, the Svengali who is, you know, in it for the money. And, you know, I think he had a real passion for this music and a real passion for some of the same things that Varg was actually passionate about. The only difference is that Euronymous would run his mouth and Varg would just make shit happen. If you're one of the two black metal fans that are still watching this, comment down below and tell me what your favorite black metal band is and what your favorite black metal album is. My favorite black metal band is kind of an odd choice. It's Emperor. And the only one album by them that I actually ever bought was Equilibrium, 9 Equilibrium. So yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about music, leave a comment down below. Share this video out to your friends. I'm going to do more movie reviews, and any help that you guys can give me would be greatly appreciated. So in the immortal words of my favorite YouTuber of all time, Captain Sexy Pants. A peace.